Most young men are single. Most young women are not.
The normal way, actually, that people start relationships in the vast majority of is like semi-arranged marriage, right? Like not the full, you've never met this person before, 13-year-olds, whatever, getting betrothed, like not like that, but the sort of you're introduced by family members, mutual friends, you're known in the community, you go to the same church, whatever it is, and then both of your families like consent to the marriage, and it works out okay. But the expectation isn't like... The expectation of marriage up until relatively recently was that you would have an economic relationship, and a reproductive relationship, but you weren't best friends. Mm-hmm. And actually, I don't think husbands and wives used to talk to each other as much as they do now. I think people used to have much more homosocial kind of lives. Mm-hmm. You'd hang out with other men, you'd hang out with other women. You wouldn't necessarily hang out a lot with the opposite sex, including your spouse. So this idea that like the going up to a person in the bar is like the normal and natural way of starting relationships, I don't think is historically accurate.
I had a guy, am I supposed to mention his name? Okay, he was sweet to the core. That time, I feel like, in fact, make I just marry him. He had money. Everything was all right. Was born with a silver spoon, but with condition, make fish bend. After my daddy died, so it was not easy. My made things that I was not meant to do, and in the process, things happened. He came up as a friend. I felt that they were just the same thing. He was sweet, pass mark, yes, checking everything. He wants my progress. Everything was just right. Honestly, I'm still regretting because that pushed him because I wanted to remember that thing. I feel bad, like so pained because where I should be standing right now with him, another person is there, and he's not even giving him that so much support. He now had to hold on. His parents had to now get a wife for him, and he just had to do it because he wanted to please his mom.
If you've got a girl and you've been there for 5 years, and you say to someone, "We're getting married," would you get married? Like every go through a risk. If you say to someone, "We've been together 5 years, and we've decided we're not going to get married," Ooh, what's wrong? Do you have intimacy issues? What's your problem? Meanwhile, 56% end in divorce. It's literally fits the legal definition of negligence. It's a negligent behavior. The way you define negligence in law school is when what you lose by not doing something, okay, is lower than the risk of harm. It's what's called a BPL analysis. So the burden of not doing a thing is lower than the likelihood, the probability of harm. So BPL, so burden, probability, and loss. Marriage is an inherently negligent activity. It's like owning a lion. Like the likelihood of someone getting hurt seriously by this is very, very high. No one ever says it to you because why? Because, and I would say something. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I still get misty-eyed at weddings. Like I still really, there's something in me that goes like, maybe it'll work out for these two.
You still believe in love?
Sweet. I absolutely believe in love. I think love is wonderful. But love and marriage have very little to do with each other. I don't think there's much of a correlation there. And I think that's where we got off track. Like I believe in pair bonds. I don't think I can learn everything I need to know about myself from myself. I think having someone around me who sees my blind spots, and that doesn't have to be a romantic partner. That could be a friend, that could be any number of things. But there is something wonderful about romantic connection. We know that. I mean, the other statistic is 56% of marriages end in divorce, but 84% of people who get divorced are remarried within 5 years of their divorce.
Really?
So think about that. So now you've done it and failed and felt the pain of the loss, and within 5 years, 84% are remarried.
So when you fall in love, and you're with a partner who's in love with you,
Sure.
it's like hard to put the brakes on and say, you know what, that's as far as I'm going to go.
Well, I think whoever discovered water, it wasn't a fish. And I think when we're in a thing, we don't see it. And so, I mean, and this is true of any of us.
There must be some endorphins, something's being released in our brains.
Listen, you want to test that theory. The next time you're out with a couple who've been together for a while, and it seems like they maybe got in a fight, or they're just kind of being, impatient with each other at the table. When you go a group thing. Just say to them, so tell me about how you met. Tell me the story of how you met. And everything on them changes. They go back to that place. And there's this oh yeah, and she was this. Because for that second, you go back to that place. You can go, someone with a horrible divorce, if you could get them to go to that place and talk to you about that time. I would say something, when I was a kid, every kid, you have the fantasy of if you were invisible, what would you do? You'd go to the girls' locker room, whatever. I have this fantasy that if I could be invisible, I have about 8 clients that I'd like to sneak into their house and find their wedding album. I know it's in the attic somewhere or something, because I would love to see what it looked like when these people loved each other, because they are weaponized against each other now, and we are trying to kill each other, and we're taking every secret, every intimacy, everything, and we're
at their ugliest.
At their ugliest, at their worst. And there's something in me that just the thought that you guys at some point, you were there's 7.3 billion people in the world, and you're the one. You're the one I just want to be with and smell and touch, and that feeling. We all know that feeling of just the electricity of another person, And I think I'm a romantic at heart in the sense that I really get it. I really get why we do this. I felt it, I know it, I understand it. But tying that to the technology of marriage to me makes almost no sense whatsoever. And I actually think it's almost antagonistic to that connection with another person, because there's so much expectation that comes with marriage culturally. We've created so much stuff around it. When you marry someone, they're supposed to be, at least in the modern Western model, your best friend, best roommate, best co-parent, best travel partner, best roommate, best everything, best activity partner. How would one person be all of those things? That's insane. If I was interviewing for a job and said, I want you to be the best typist, and I also want you to be best on the phone, and I also want you to be great at that. And I ran down a list of dissimilar things. Or if I went to an amazing chef and I said, I know you're a great chef, but can you farm? Like, well, that has to do with food, but they're not the same thing. Like, what are you talking? So I think, why do we put on people this idea, like whoever came up with the word soulmate, really we should be paying, like divorce lawyers should be paying that person dividends. Because we've convinced people that if this person isn't meeting every one of your needs, checking all of these boxes, they're not your soulmate. Your soulmate would know exactly what to do, exactly what to say at exactly the right time.
Sex is powerful because it has consequences, right? And then we're asking, what happens when people have had sex outside the boundaries of marriage and it has resulted in a pregnancy? So what do they do? That's the question. What decisions should be made? We all know what religion says should be done. Do not engage in premarital and extramarital sex. But when people have engaged in it and a child is being created, what do they do? It's a difficult conversation. It's meant for adults. But these are the issues that young people deal with. As a physician, people come around and when you with them, they've already had sex. They want to deal with consequences. Okay, so what should they do? So does anybody want to jump into the conversation? Has anybody been in this position before?
Personally, no, but I know someone very close.
Has anybody been in this position personally before?
Well, I think I've been in the business of
Pregnating people.
Not necessarily impregnating people, but adulthood or quite a while. So it is very difficult to walk through those years without having that experience. True. So I must say that for the fact. You have your girlfriend, especially during the youthful days. You have your girlfriend. Whatever happens, and then first it's between you and her to decide how do we take care of this. I think most of the time the burden is higher and tougher on the female. Yeah. Just like I said before, while we were having our break, I said men are donors, women are receptors. The receptors, as a result of that, receptors tend to be more sedentary, stationary, while the donors tend to be more mobile and all over the place. And this single situation, manifests all over the world. These are the effects you see all over the world, in which we have a religious system or maybe a cultural system or social system that's trying to create a balance point between the mobile donor species and the more sedentary and stationary receptors. So each time sex happens, most of the time only one party bears the brunt. So it's up to now, we have to talk about how much empathy the other party feels. That's the man now, or sympathy, because I'm not a woman. I don't know how it feels to be pregnant, but I have sympathy. I realized as a young man, I've had to, deal with that and look at the plight of the lady and have to agree at some point that, look, we can't take care of this baby. Let's just deal with it. So...
I don't understand what do you mean by deal with it?
Yeah, let's deal with it. Let's go for an abortion. It's as simple as that. You just find out that as a young man in your early 20s, late, even teenage, maybe like teen or whatever, because I've been in college since 19 and I graduated. It took a while because I went through a number of
strike actions.
We had strike actions and all that. So for an entire decade, we were still in higher institutions. So you can imagine across all those relationships, the different stages and at the different points where we've had to make those decisions. But to be honest with you guys, the easy way out, especially when you feel sympathy now, most of the time that discussion is between the man and the woman. Most of the time, just like I said, the easiest decision is to have an abortion.
Now, you may be thinking that 30 is actually a better time to settle down than 20 or even 25, and I agree with you. But grabbing whoever you're living with or sleeping with when everyone on Facebook starts walking down the aisle is not progress. The best time to work on your marriage is before you have one, and that means being as intentional with love as you are with work. Picking your family is about consciously choosing who and what you want, rather than just making it work or killing time with whoever happens to be choosing you.
Like dating people in the UK here is very different from dating in Nigeria. People do not randomly walk up to you on the street and be like, hey, oh, you look good, like, and then start talking to you. You know those things we do in Nigeria? They don't do it here because apparently it is creepy. People find it creepy. So for the past 6 months that I've been here, nobody, and I repeat, nobody has walked up to me to, talk to me or chike me, like we say, like to ask me out, to toast me like bread. Nobody has done that here in the UK, like randomly. It doesn't happen. So a few weeks back, my flatmate, she's from Zimbabwe, and she was like, Chidera, since you've been here, has anybody ever asked you out? Like, she was legit worried. She was like, because I think I'm not as attractive as I used to be. And I'm like, no, it's just the way it is here. People do not ask people out on the streets the way we do it in Africa or in Nigeria precisely. So my friends told me that here, if you want to meet people, you've got to go online. You got to use the dating apps in it. You got to use Tinder, you got to use Hinge, you got to use Bumble, or the dating app.
Okay, so what are the top signs of a catfish?
Yeah, the biggest one, of course, is that they're going to ask for money. But, that may seem kind of obvious to some people, but you gotta remember that these relationships oftentimes are accelerated really quickly. People are love bombing. And so then people are feeling like they are really engaged with this person and invested in that relationship. And another thing is that the person just is never available to actually meet or see in a video. They're always just messaging, so that's a big sign to look out for as well.
Okay, what are some other ways that you can check to make sure the person that you're actually talking to is who they say they are?
Yeah, I always love Google reverse image search, so I recommend doing that, of course, as well as get them on a video chat or meet them in person as soon as you can. It's easy to do just a FaceTime or a Zoom date up front, so that way you're actually talking to a legitimate person. And then also do your diligence. Look them up on social media.
Nothing wrong with a little deep dive.
Yeah,
not at all.
Of course.
All right, how can you protect yourself from being catfished?
Yeah, well, of course, never send money to anyone, but also do your research on people. And, if somebody seems too good to be true, well, it probably is. So it's important to, look them up on the different sites. And then also make sure you're meeting people through legitimate means, not just on some kind of, weird website.
Right.
There's some that are better than others, and they ask people to even upload their IDs and stuff. So that can be good.
Okay, so if someone suspects or thinks that they are talking to a catfisher, what would you suggest that they actually do?
Well, right away, you need to block them and then report them through whatever site that you've met them on. You can bring it up to them so they aren't able to do it to other people. And then if you have been scammed financially, make sure you report it to the authorities.
We're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right? Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We got a box for the money. We got a box for the job. We got a box for you. We got a box for the kids. We got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is, the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. The money's connected to the car, and the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. And it's like... It's like the internet superhighway, okay? And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. All right.
Most young men are single. Most young women are not.
The normal way, actually, that people start relationships in the vast majority of cultures is to be like, is like semi-arranged marriage, right? Like not the full, you've never met this person before, you know, 13-year-olds, whatever, getting betrothed, like not like that, but the sort of you're introduced by family members, mutual friends, you're known in the community, you go to the same church, whatever it is, and then both of your families like consent to the marriage, and it works out okay. But the expectation isn't like, the expectation of marriage until relatively recently was that you would have an economic relationship, and a reproductive relationship, but you weren't best friends. And actually, I don't think husbands and wives used to talk to each other as much as they do now. I think people used to have much more homosocial kind of lives. You'd hang out with other men, you'd hang out with other women. You wouldn't necessarily hang out a lot with the opposite sex, including your spouse. So this idea that like the going up to a person in the bar is like the normal and natural way of starting relationships, I don't think is historically accurate.
I had a guy, am I supposed to mention his name? Okay. He was sweet to the core. That time, I feel like, in fact, make I just marry him. He had money. Everything was all right. I was born with a silver spoon, but with condition, make crayfish bend, and everything flopped after my daddy died. So it was not easy for me going to school. My mom had a petty business, made me do things that I was not meant to do. And in the process, things happened. He came up as a friend. I felt that they were just the same thing. He was sweet, pass mark, yes, checking everything. He wants my progress. Everything was just right. Honestly, I'm still regretting because the wife he got married to, in fact,
you're better than that.
Yes, with the relationship we have gone so far,
he opens up to you.
To talk. Like we talk like
you said talking
like
to
friend.
It's not about it. I regret it because I was the one that messed up.
Yeah,
yes, I messed up. I just had to call
Yeah.
it off, and I do things that pushed him because I wanted to be free.
Coach,
With this old thing
guys,
that happened recently, if I remember that thing, I feel bad, like so pained because where I should be standing right now. With me, another person is there, and he's not even giving him that so much support. He now had to hold on. His parents had to now get a wife for him, and he just had to do it because he wanted to please his mom.
There's a presumption that you should get married, and if you don't get married, there's something wrong with it.
We're here. It's great to see all of you. For those of you who have come on the show previously, my name is Adefolami Agumbiade. I'm a public health physician. I see a couple of people in the live stream. So Gabriel, I see you, I hear you. I also see Pascal. Pascal, so good to see you. Great to have you on the show. I'll bring you in. We'll bring you into the show when the right time comes. All right, so great to see you. Great to have you guys watch. Okay, so most of you might be wondering, why exactly do we do this? Why exactly are we doing this? I'm a physician, and this is my second decade of practice, public health, in the West African country of Nigeria. And over the course of practice and seeing people, over time, I started to see the impact, the way in which people's romantic decisions affect their reproductive health options, particularly women. And so the major reason for this particular live stream is to help people make decisions at the right point, the point where the decisions they make will matter. And unfortunately, or rather, women tend to be impacted more because when it comes to reproductive health, they have a definite window. Okay, so we'll be talking over the course of the next few live streams. We'll be talking about the decisions people make in their relationship that set them up for success or for failure. All right, and at particular points in time, we'll bring people into the show to share their experiences. Perhaps you have an issue that you need help with, or perhaps you have counsel for much younger people. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, wherever you're watching this from. Almost everybody kind of has. We all have relationship problems. Okay, I can see Bitcoin Lord. He's saying, why is the live always skipping? All right, I can see you there. Bitcoin Lord, why is the live always skipping? this is our second live stream, so we're still working out the bugs and all that. Over time, it should be better. Okay, so just leave your comments in the video and let's have a great time. All right, people will be joining us from all across the world. We have people that will join us, hopefully from the UK, from the UAE, from Nigeria, from Ghana. All right, so it's going to be a wonderful conversation today. Okay, so today we will be talking about the 9 stages of relationships that become marriage. Okay, and if you have been on the show, if you've been on the show physically, you probably you have an idea of exactly what we want to talk about. Okay, but that's what we're talking about today: the various stages in the relationship that lead to marriage. Okay, for people who want to get married. So the very, very first stage, for the sake of the presentation, the very, very first stage we would have is the stage we call living up to expectation. So that's stage 1. Living up to expectation. What do we mean by living up to expectation? Most men have this belief that they can assess what a woman looks like in the very, very first interaction. So it talks to most men will tell you that they can size up a woman in the first interaction and vice versa. But a lot of times it's not true. Okay, and I have stories and experiences to share about this. Very much when I was single. Okay, so this first stage is living up to expectation. So very much when I was single, I met a particular lady in a taxi, we're going towards a destination in Nigeria. For those people who are watching from Nigeria, there's a place we call Abeokuta. Yeah, at that particular time, I think I was going from Ikeja or a particular garage in Ikorodu, and I met a lady inside the taxi, and I was reading a particular book at that time, an electronic book on my laptop. Until we got talking, and I got interested. I think I enjoyed the conversation. We had like a lovely conversation over the 1 hour drive, and at the end of when I got to the bus stop, when I got to the place where I was supposed to come down, the natural expectation is we exchange numbers. So I collected the phone number with the intention that I would call her much later and then I would go on to check up on her. All right. So, and then I did that. I called her over the space of about maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I remember at that time I had at that particular time I had this nagging feeling because each time I called, I would notice that there was always someone in the background talking, and the person was like a bit lousy, one of our friends or so. So we kept having the conversations. Just a minute. Let me check the comments. We have people saying that they are facing network issues. Okay. Bitcoin Lord is saying that he has issues with seeing what's going on. Let's check. Just a minute, please. I just want to do a bit of diagnostic. We'll get back to the show just quickly. Just enjoy the music. All right, so back to our story. So I met the lady, got her phone number, we started talking, and then each time I called, I noticed that she had a friend who would constantly, it was just the friend always spoke in the background. I didn't think much of it at that time until I went to go and visit with a friend of mine. So we went to go and check her up in school. And then when we got to their school, we found out that, was when I got to the school, I found out that she had, the friend was quite lousy. And then being able to see her within her circle of friends, I found out that my assessment of who she was as a person she was pretty, she was great, but the circle of friends that she kept and the kind of, I don't want to say energy, but the kind of attitude and the behaviors that I saw when she was in the circle of her friends was completely different from what I saw when I met her in person. So the whole point of this particular conversation is that most men, the very first time they meet a woman, assume that they can more or less like easily assess who she is. And a lot of times it's not true. Okay? Just in case you go through the very, very first stage, you've gone out with the person, you've met the person, and then we'll take a quick break, all right? And then we'll get to stage 2.
So if you've got a girlfriend and you've been with her for 5 years, and you say to someone, we're getting married, they go, oh, that's great. You know, they don't go, why? You're happy. Why would you get married? Like everything's going fine. Why would you put yourself through that? Why would you run that risk? If you say to someone, we've been together 5 years and we've decided we're not going to get married. We're going to move in together, but we're not going to get married. Ooh, what's wrong? You have intimacy issues? What's your problem? Meanwhile, 56% end in divorce. It's literally fits the legal definition of negligence. It's a negligent behavior. The way you define negligence in law school is when what you lose by not doing something, okay, is lower than the risk of harm. It's what's called a BPL analysis. So the burden of not doing a thing is lower than the likelihood, the probability of harm. So BPL, so burden, probability, and loss. Marriage is an inherently negligent activity. It's like owning a lion. Like the likelihood of someone getting hurt seriously by this is very, very high. No one ever says it to you. Because why? Because, and I would say something, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I still get misty-eyed at weddings. Like I still really, there's something in me that goes like, you know, maybe it'll work out for these two.
You still believe in love?
Sweet. I absolutely believe in love. I think love is wonderful. But love and marriage have very little to do with each other. I don't think there's much of a correlation there. I think that's where we got off track. Like I believe in pair bonds. I don't think I can learn everything I need to know about myself from myself. I think having someone around me who sees my blind spots, and that doesn't have to be a romantic partner. That could be a friend, that could be any number of things. But there is something wonderful about romantic connection. We know that. I mean, the other statistic is 56% of marriages end in divorce, but 84% of people who get divorced are remarried within 5 years of their divorce.
Really?
So think about that. So now you've done it and failed and felt the pain of the loss, and within 5 years, 84% are remarried.
So when you fall in love, and you're with a partner who's in love with you,
Sure.
it's like hard to put the brakes on and say, you know what, that's as far as I'm going to go.
Well, I think whoever discovered water, it wasn't a fish. And I think when we're in a thing, we don't see it. And so, I mean, and this is true of any of us.
There must be some endorphins, something's being released in our brains.
Listen, you want to test that theory. The next time you're out with a couple who've been together.
All right, so we're back to the show, okay? We just had to work out a couple of the technical issues. Yes, so for those guys who are here, great to have you. We're talking about the 9 stages of relationships that become marriages, okay? And at this part, the first stage we spoke about before we went on a break was living up to expectations. And I mentioned that most times when men meet women, in the first interaction, they assume that they probably can predict who the woman is or what she is. Like, a lot of times you can't. And that's the reason, because a lot of times men assess women by the way they are dressed, the way they look, kind of makeup they wear, the kind of clothes, the location you meet them and all that. And that just gives you a fraction of who the lady is. A lot of times women are, the best way to assess people is within their social circle. And so you may find out that you meet someone in a particular setting or gathering, the person looks different. But when you meet them in their social circle, they are completely different. So if you're a woman and you're listening to this, or if you're a guy and you're listening to this and you notice that perhaps you met with people, you exchange phone numbers and then they don't call you back, a very, very good chance. The reason why that happens is because when the person met you, the person got the phone number, the person assumed that the person had a particular picture of who you are. But over the course of time, people will end up getting to find out that I was wrong. Okay, and most men don't want to accept that they are wrong. So that's like stage 1. The very, very second stage, and people don't. If you notice, I've stayed away from talking stage because And there's a reason why there's a particular reason why I deliberately did not mention the whole issue of talking stage, and it's this: is because for most people, in today's world, and particularly in today's world where data is almost like is relatively inexpensive compared to the cost of sending text message, for most women, all right, they will chat with so many men as a form of recreation or entertainment. It's just to validate themselves. It doesn't necessarily mean that she probably will go out with you, all right? So that's why we're not considering talking stage, because for every single lady that is young and pretty enough, probably would end up having like about between 10 to 15, 20 people that she's talking to at the same time, depending on the city she's from. Okay, if she's in school, if she's an undergraduate, the numbers tend to be higher. So we're staying away from talking stage. The very, very first stage is living up to expectation. When you meet people, first stage one is living up to expectations. When you meet somebody, all right, is your assessment of the person when you meet that person, does it match who the person ends up being? Okay, so that's that. For the very, very second stage, that's the stage in which we call getting to know you, all right? And this basically the way it's okay, so the way it works with most people is the fact that you meet somebody, the person, like, you feel this person like checks your boxes and all that. The second stage in relationships for most people is you now get to meet the person, you go out on more dates with the person. Most of the time, for women in particular, women who end up getting invited on dates, all right? It's going out on dates with people. That means women who say yes to more dates, women who have male friends and brothers. Okay, and that's quite explanatory. The reason why that is because for women who tend to have brothers and more male friends tend to understand the male psyche a bit better. Okay? If a woman does not have sex on okay, it's not surprising for most men not to call a woman back after they slept with her for the first time. It's not surprising, okay? Because in the psyche of a man, for most men, the idea is that if he is with a woman on the first date and he gets to sleep with her, most men will generally think that he probably is easy to sleep with. Okay, so if he ends up calling her back, it probably would be to get more sex. Now, nothing is absolute in the world, but I'm just pointers to look for. So getting to know a person, that's the very, very first date. So if a woman and your friend, you're positive, you are easy to get along with, you have brothers or you have lots of male friends that you have relationships with and you understand the male psyche, you would get more dates, okay? So the third stage, all right? Now, I'll mention something right now. A lot of times, the reason why if you're a woman listening to this and you've gone on dates, and those are maybe you go on a date the first time and then the first date you go, the guys you've gone out on dates, after that day, they don't call you back. And this is not general. We're just talking about what happens in most of the cases. The reason why that happens for most guys is you probably might have said something that scares the guy away. So if you go on a date with a guy and the very, very first date, you're talking about getting married, you're talking about having children, you're talking about the person following down to a wedding, most men log off. Okay? Because at the back of their mind is like, this person, the idea is that probably this person is a bit desperate, or this person is in a rush to get secure commitment from the guy. Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll bring a couple of people into the show and then we'll continue with the conversation. I can see that Oluwafemi is in the chats. Oluwafemi, how are you doing? I'll bring you into the conversation right now. So, Oluwafemi, I'm going to add you to the show. You can put on your audio. Oluwafemi. Okay, so I can't. All right, so back to what we're discussing. The very, very first, we've spoken about the first two stages. So let's talk about the third stage. What exactly is the third stage of relationship? The third stage is needs and lifestyles. Okay, men and women who date, generally there's the assessment in which you are assessing, does this person's lifestyle match mine? Okay, do we have like a lifestyle match and the rest? And this is the point in which people separate, like it's at this point that people separate compatibility from attraction. A lot of times you have people that you're attracted to, but you may end up finding out that the lifestyle is not compatible with yours. I gave an example when I went on TikTok Live. I mentioned that there was a lady I dated while I was still a single guy, and in the first couple of, at some particular point in time when we started having conversations, it was obvious that she had a particular kind of lifestyle that at that time I could not match up with. I'm talking about somebody in I'm talking about someone about 10, 15 years ago whose idea of a great time was spending $500,000 on clothes for other people's weddings. There's something in Nigeria they call ashwebi. Okay, so I had someone then who I went on dates with, that our idea of a great time was, you're going for a wedding, you must spend at least $500,000. Okay, and for a single guy at that particular stage in my life, I immediately consistently heard that in the course of our conversations. I logged off. Okay, particularly because people usually do not go back in lifestyle. So if you're dating someone, and if you're a woman and you're dating a guy, you go out on dates with guys, and sometimes if you mention, there are things you might mention that may get those people to log off. Okay, extremely expensive lifestyle choices, vacations 3 times a year in Fiji, in Dubai. You mentioned that to someone, it doesn't mean that you won't find people who will take you on those kind of vacations. It just means that the majority of young men who do not have the means will just accept that I may like this person, but I cannot meet this person's lifestyle goals. Okay, so that's a stage. The fourth stage is steady dating, and usually for most people this ranges between 3 weeks to 3 months. Okay, so I want to anchor to bring us back, because I need to anchor the conversation. To bring us back to what we are talking about, we're talking about the 9 stages, okay, of a relationship that becomes marriages. And the first stage you mentioned was living up to expectations. The second stage you mentioned was getting to know the person. The third stage is needs and lifestyle, seeing whether the needs of the person matches the lifestyle. See whether the attraction you feel for that person matches the lifestyle the person wants to live. Okay, so, and then we're at the fourth stage. The fourth stage is steady dating, and usually this ranges from 3 weeks to 3 months. I know a lot of people will come for me in this video, so let me state some things here. I am coming at relationships from a functional point of view. Okay, this show, while romance is a great thing, okay, love in most cases has almost nothing to do with marriage. Okay, for most people all across the world, marriage is an economic decision, because once you get married, there are responsibilities that the man will have to bear. Okay, so if you are dating someone, if you're at that point in which you're dating someone, most men have it at the back of their mind, they are listening to lifestyle cues. If they feel that this lady has a particular lifestyle that they cannot match up to, most men will log off. So that's the conversation we're having. I'm not saying that men should not aspire for great things. I'm not saying that women should not want to date wealthy men. What I am saying is that if men who want to be serious about women, if they are having conversations and they feel that there's something in the conversation, a lifestyle that they cannot match, most men will disengage themselves. That's the conversation we're having. Okay, so I'll stop here. I see that some people have joined the video, and probably let's see. Olufemi, are you ready? Do you want to talk to me? Do you disagree with anything I have to say? Okay, let me bring you in. All right. So, you're on the stream. How you doing? Femi, how you doing? I can't hear you. Hello? I can see Comfort. I'm going to come for you. Comfort. Comfort is saying in the chat that that's why it's good for men to date their class of girls. How many people agree with that? Comfort is saying that it's good for men to date their class of girls. How do you know what your class of girls is? Comfort. Comfort, join the video now. You can't just drop this kind of comments on the live streaming and just go off like that. Join the video. I mean, come into the video. Let's hear what you have to say. Okay, so we'll come back to what we're discussing. All right, so we'll come back to what we're discussing. A lot of people would say that you shouldn't have this conversation. You should be aspirational. Okay, but I will tell you this: for most men, we're talking in generalities now. Men across the world. I'm not talking about people who are dating O'Malley. I'm not talking about people who are dating Wizkid. I'm not talking about Drake's girlfriends. We're talking about the average guy across the world. Okay, the average guy across the world wants to be certain that he can give you the lifestyle you want. The average guy across the world. And if there's something in that conversation that you are having that sort of like shows that this person cannot give you that lifestyle, most people will log off. Okay, so that's for what Comfort is saying. All right, so let's get back to the conversation. So we're back at stage 4. So to quickly recap, first stage is living up to expectations. Second stage is getting to know you as a person. Third stage is the needs and lifestyles, and they're assessing whether the attraction they feel for you matches the lifestyle that you want to live. Okay, and then the very fourth stage is steady dating. Okay, so most men will not think of themselves as dating you unless most men will not feel that they're dating you unless they've gone on 4 to 6 dates with you. Okay, so because some people will say that, again, that's also some of the things we hear. You hear people say that people are double dating, that they're going out on dates with this person, they're going out on dates with that person. If you've not gone on dates with a guy for 4 to 6 times, most men will not see you as a girlfriend. Okay, so now it doesn't mean that if you've gone out on dates with a guy, the guy will see you as a girlfriend. Well, we're just talking generally that for most people, steady dating is like 3 weeks to 3 month period. Okay, and this is where the problem lies, because a woman can come around to come and visit you. Probably she comes to your house to pay you a visit, or you guys go out on a date, and she feels, a lot of them probably feel that within 2 to 3 dates, you guys are in a relationship. All right, and most men, at the back of their mind, if he has taken you out 4 to 6 times, if he sort of has not formalized it, a lot of men would feel that they're not in a relationship with you. Okay, so, and that's why it's good to clarify things at some point. Okay, so now we've had people who have come on the show. When we were running this show as a physical show, we had people who came on, and you would have, after the show, I would end up getting questions like, some people would say that, why is it that some men would stop talking to you? Some men would, you go out on date with a guy and the guy would just log off. Okay, we've had that particular question. Let me just type that question in the chat. All right, the question, we've had this question: why is it that men, this is the question, all right, why do men log off? Okay. Raphael Inyang, I see you. You're welcome to the chat. Oluwafemi, I would have brought you on, but your network isn't strong enough. Okay, so we have this question: why do men log off after a few dates? Do you have anybody in the chat that wants to give us, that wants to respond to that? Is there anybody in the chat that wants to respond to that? Raphael, put on your video. Let's bring you on. Let's hear. So there's a question. Someone asked a question in the chat. The question is this: why do men log off after a few dates? Does nobody want to answer that? I can't hear you, Raphael. There's so much noise there. We can't hear you, so we'll talk to you some other time. If you get to a place that is not too loud, you can join the chat. All right. Okay. Yeah, so we're asking the question, why exactly is that? Why do men log off after a few dates? Okay, so I'll tell you the answer to that. And the answer we have this answer going by what people have said. Okay? People who have come on the show. We brought men on the show, and then this is what they have said. Hello? Yes. Okay, comfort. Comfort is, let's bring comfort into comfort. I'll bring into the scene now. Are you ready to talk? Are you ready to talk to me? All right, so comfort, so why exactly?
Okay,
why
regarding you made a statement saying most men log off because girls are like on high expectations and all of that. So I made a statement saying men should date their class, because you can't be earning 100,000 naira and be chasing after a girl that has lived that life, or a girl that's been spoiled by a Yahoo boy with lots of expensive things. Like, you're not up to her class, so it's best men should just date their class, and that's a period.
But how do you assess? How do you know what a girl's class is? How do you?
Like,
it's not like you write. It's not like you have an ID card or so that you put that this is my class. So
for my accessories, like
something,
for my like, when you see a girl that has spent money, a girl that has touched money, you meant to know now. Like, she won't be local. Like, the way she carries herself alone tells that, okay, this girl don't see money, you get. So I just feel like men just know their class, and life would be much easier that way.
Okay, so
honestly,
but you haven't answered. Yes. You haven't answered. There's a question that someone has put here, and the question is, why do men log off after a few dates?
I can't see. What question, sir?
Why do men log off after a few dates? Why does a guy go out on date with you and then the guy logs off?
You know, like, going on dates is just like getting to meet somebody, getting to hang out, getting to like have conversations with the person. Okay, let me use myself as an example. Like, if it's on a date with a guy, and on the first date you're just trying to sound so sexual, or you're too ras or something, I will log off. Me personally will log off. If you invite me on the date next, I'll just tell you I'm busy, whereas I'm on my bed sleeping. You get? So I feel that applies to men too. If they see like on the first date, this girl is not what I actually want, and will just not come back for her, and she'll feel like he just used that or something, or I don't know.
Okay, I would ask you this: you as a person, have you gone on dates with people that they logged off, and with the person didn't call you back? Maybe you went on one date and then the person did not.
Okay. It has actually happened once.
I
don't know what
basically
the
in this conversation we've had so far, what you have told me is this: you've told me that you've told me about the guy that you don't give second dates to. We get that, but as far as conversation on second date, it doesn't matter. What matters is this: the guys who did not go on follow-up dates with you. I'm asking that: have you gone on dates with people that the person did not call you back?
Okay, it's not like he didn't call me back, because guys these days are smart. It's not like they'll just push you away like that. It will be too obvious, you understand? Probably I would say that after the date, the vibe just reduced. I don't know, probably something I did to him or something I said to him. I don't know.
What did you say to the guy?
Guys these days are not good with opening up.
Okay, so do you... Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Comfort, can you hear me? All right, I think we've lost Comfort. We'll come back to you later. Let's. Okay, so we're talking about the. Just hold on a minute. Comfort, I'm going to remove you from the scene. You can rejoin. You can rejoin later. Okay, yeah, because your video is a bit iffy. Okay, so we're back to. So we also mentioned so what stage are we at now? We're at the 4 stages. Okay, so we're at stage 4. So steady dating, usually most people date for like 3-4 months. Most people typically would date for like 3 weeks to 3 months. That's like steady dating. All right. If you're dating someone, and I'm speaking generally with my experience as a guy now. Okay, so if you're dating someone and you find out that maybe you've gone out on a couple of dates with the person, and after a month, the person either drops you or the person just ends things or the vibes goes down, I'll tell you a couple of things that happen. Okay, so I'll tell you a couple of things that happens to people that ends up ensuring that they don't get second dates. And usually this is what happens. A lot of times you probably have come on too strong. Maybe in the first 4 dates you spoke about your plans for the future, and in your plans you either casually dropped that you want to get married, you mentioned children, you mentioned you want to go to a wedding, you probably invited the person to go to a wedding with you. Most men who have met you, if they are dating you a month into the relationship, steady dating, going out regularly, you start mentioning marriage, children, all right, most men will log off. Okay, because the general idea is that the general perception is that you are coming on too strong. Some men would say that it's like this person is looking for a husband or so, and then there's that kind of it can be off-putting. Okay, so on this show, on the live stream, my own advice is that you should not mention to people that if a woman should not mention to someone that you should not bring up the issue of marriage in the first 3 dates. Okay, so if you guys are going out and first, second, third date, just do not bring up the issue of marriage at all. Try to enjoy the process, because a lot of times when you bring it up, people will log off instantly. Okay, so that's like the stage 4. So we'll talk about the 5th stage. The 5th stage of relationships that become marriages. Stage 5 is the stage we call romancing the woman. Okay, most people will tell you that African men are not romantic. As an African, Timileyin, I see you in the chat. Timileyin, how you doing? Hey, Timileyin, how you doing? What's good? Hello, Timileyin. Yeah, good evening, Timileyin. I'm going to bring you into the. I'm going to bring you. Put your video. Bring your video on. Let's hear what you have to say, because I'm bringing. Let's have a chat together. Come on with your video. Okay, you don't want to come into the conversation. Okay, Timney has left the chat. All right. Okay, so we're back to our conversation. So where are we right now? At this particular point, we are at. Jane, you keep dropping in and out. Do you want to talk to me, Jane? Okay, where are you at the moment? Where are you at the moment? Okay, you're in a village. In what part of the world is your village? Oh, okay. All right. So you want to join the conversation? Let's hear. Let's hear your. Let's hear where are you? what part are you? What part in the world are you right now? What space are you generally? How old are you presently? Are you open to share? Yeah. And so you don't have a problem dating now. Usually, ladies 23-year-old usually don't have problem dating. Or do you have a problem dating?
You know, I think everybody at a point in their life had a problem dating. That's why.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. What problems do you have with
Till
dating?
they
and
find the
now
right
state?
one. I feel like the men here have a certain way of thinking. They believe maybe after the first date, then the second date should be, I don't know if it's appropriate, physical. And you know,
They want to have sex. They want
not
to have sex with you on the
everybody's
second date.
mentality is like that. Sorry?
I said the men over there want to have sex with you on the second date, right? Is that what you're saying?
If I should calculate how many I've actually met here, majority of them are like that.
And that's women. That's women are.
So
Now.
I don't know if that is the environment.
It's not the environment. That's
Sorry?
the way men are. I said it's not the environment. That's how men are generally.
Are you
Most men-
trying to defend them, sir?
I'm not defending. I'm telling you the way men are. I'm not. The only difference. This is the only difference. The only difference you would experience is that the good guys probably will want to have sex with you after they are married to you. But almost every man.
Well, my own belief is every man approaching you, definitely sex is going to be there. But I think that should not be one of the first or the second or the third thing in the mind. You understand? Yeah, that's how they roll. But actually, where I'm based is in Abuja. Things work differently over there. So that's why I said I think it's the environment. So I don't know.
Okay. What I am saying is that everybody, it doesn't matter where you are. I'm telling you that in almost every country, it doesn't matter any country you go to, any country you go to, almost every man in every country, all right, except for those who are extremely who come from like extremely religious backgrounds. Even people who come from very religious backgrounds, who are like those who are like strong Christians, strong Muslims, and all that. Almost everybody wants to sleep. They want to sleep with you. Okay, the only difference is that most men would want to sleep with you. The good guy probably wants to sleep with you after he's married to you. But it does not change the fact that most men expect to have sex. I'm not saying it is right. All right, I need to hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying that men should. I'm not saying that you should. I'm not saying you should sleep with men. Okay? And I'm telling you that the frame of mind where men are mentally, their frame of mind, if the person does not come from a strong religious background, the person has not probably been trained. If it's not like a taboo in his upbringing, most men expect sex to be on the table. All right, so and that's where it gets dicey, because if you have sex with men, if you have sex with a guy on the very first date, or if you have sex with a guy early in the relationship, more often than not, they will log off. So you know that already. So it's not something new. So that's the issue you have. Your own issue is you have lots of people chasing you, and the people who are chasing you want to sleep with you. That's your complaint. Hello, Jane. I can't hear you. Hello. You can't hear Jane. Jane has logged off the conversation. All right, so
Sorry.
I'm going to bring.
What I was trying to say is, I didn't say that they want to sleep with me. I said most of them on the second day, that's what they're after, and that's not what I'm after. So we don't align.
Okay, I'm not going to I will not. Okay, so that's your own issue. Let me ask you. At what point do you think? At what point do you think you're an Igbo girl now? I assume if you're in Anambra, you're Igbo.
Yes,
Are you from Anambra
yes, I
State?
am.
Exactly. Okay,
Yes,
so
I am.
at what point do you want? At what point do you want to start your own family? At what age? Because you're 23 right now. At what age are you looking to start your own family?
Hopefully. Actually, when I was younger, I actually thought it to be at 23. But right now, I think 25. 25.
Okay.
25.
And why is that?
Because I believe right now, at this point, I'm actually in a relationship. But what I'm trying to say is,
Okay.
well, now, the things I know now, I didn't know them then. So I believe I wasn't even ready for it if I wanted to. Not like I haven't gotten people who say they want to marry me, but I believe I was not ready mentally and, mentally and physically, of course. But right now, I believe 25 because right now, I'm a matured lady. Things that I believe as you grow, as you add age, there are some things you get to know. There's some things you thought were right, they're actually wrong. Some things I thought were wrong, they're actually right. So I feel like 25 is actually the best. 24.
Okay, so the guy you are with right now, the guy you are dating now, is he at that space? Is he at that space in which he is ready to get married in the next 2 years?
Actually, he wants to get married this year. I'm actually the one delaying it.
What's the hold up? What's stopping you?
I believe I'm not. There are some things I have to work on my own goals first. Like, I believe before you get married, I don't know, this is my own belief. I believe before you get married, you should at least have financial stability for yourself, basically. Because I believe some people actually get married, not really having something doing, or I'm not explaining, but I believe that every lady, before you get married, you should have some financial stability, whether business or you're working or something, so.
Do you have people who have financial stability, women who are not married in Anambra?
They have financial stability.
Do you have women who have financial stability but who also are not married in Anambra?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have a lot.
You have a lot. Okay, I'll keep you in the...
We have a lot.
You have a lot. People who are not married and who have... Okay, so what do you think they did differently then? Jane, I'll allow you.
Hello?
I'll still keep you in the chat. I'll come back to you. But I'll come back to you because I have a couple of questions. I have questions for you. I would say that if you are 23 and you already have I would say that if you are 23 and then you have I would say if you are 23 years old and you have people you have somebody who is serious and who is serious about you, I think the person should meet your family. I don't know what you're waiting for. That's what I would say to you anyway, because it doesn't get easier the older women get. Okay, I will tell you because I have a couple of experience with particularly with Anambra women. Okay, so I am going to speak on. Please don't come for me, because people who are from Anambra they want to come for me. They may say that so don't come for me. Okay. It's not unusual for you to see in the past, I don't know, I think it should be different right now, but women from Igbo land, it's not unusual, women from Igbo land, particularly Anambra, all right, to spend a lot, to wait quite some time before they get married. Okay, I don't know And for those who I've spoken to, usually there are issues about ensuring that you have a partner that is financially capable of the heavy lifting in the marriage. Some other people would say, I've had patients from Anambra State who have gotten married on time, but I've also seen a sizable number of Anambra women who spend a lot of time waiting, okay, to get their money in order. And the concerns I have about that is that a lot of times, the longer you wait as a woman, the higher your chances of having fertility issues. Okay, so it's usually best if you're 23 years old now and you have a guy who is interested in you, and the guy can financially support a family. All right, I don't see what you guys are waiting for. Okay, I really do not. Now the issue is, if you are certain that the guy cannot support a family, then you have to ask yourself, how long are you going to wait? How long are you going to wait for the person? Because I know a lot of women who have money, okay, and once they get to their mid-30s, they are now competing with someone like you, someone as young as you, for your husband. Because all the men their age now, they start chasing after much younger girls. So you don't want to be there. You don't want to be at that particular space. So, okay, there are a lot of women who have money and they don't have husband. They say, I've not found a husband though. So just think about that. If you're at that space in which you have somebody who is serious about you now, but I'll tell you to jump on the guy, particularly if you are sure that the guy can support a family. So that's basically the space we are in. I have Bemi in the chat. Okay, so Jane, I'll let you go. Bemi, you want to come? Bemi was on the chat last week. Okay, so today we're talking about in today's chat we're talking about the stages of relationships that become marriages. Okay, and so I'll just quickly do a recap of where we are. So we said the very, very first stage is living up to expectations. Okay, and at this particular stage, usually that's when people meet people, and then you want to be certain that the person you are meeting is matches your idea of who you think the person is. And the second stage is getting to know the person. Third stage is you want to be sure that the attraction you feel for the person matches the lifestyle the person has. Then the very, very fourth stage is steady dating. Okay, and typically that's usually between the range of 3 weeks to 3 months. Okay, and we mentioned that in doing steady dating, a man may go out with a woman, but if he has not gone out with her like 4 or 5 times, somewhere in his mind he doesn't think that they are in a relationship. Now sometimes a woman might be very much interested in a guy, and if she goes out with the guy for like twice, she probably will start thinking that we are dating. Okay, so that's where you have a couple of issues. You have like disparities. That's where disparities exist. Now the fifth stage we're talking about is romancing the woman. Okay, and stage 5 means what do you mean by romancing the woman? At the fifth stage, the man is at that point in which he just wants to please her. Okay, he's going out, he sees he's on his way out and he sees them selling, maybe they are selling roses somewhere. He says, okay, let me buy this rose, and he shows up at her house with a rose. Or he's like thinking, how do I please this girl? How do I send money? For Nigerian men who are wealthy enough, they're like, okay, you know what, let me send me your account number, let me send money to you. At that particular point in time, the guy is thinking romance. And what we tell people on this show is that just enjoy it. Okay? Enjoy it because it is going to be brief. All right? So, because usually what you end up hearing is you hear people say that African men are not romantic. It's not that. That's not true. It's just that the period of time in which African men are romantic is quite short, because at that particular point, so that's a phase. For other countries, probably the phase may last like 3, 4, 6 months. For a lot of men in the global south, 2 weeks, a month. Okay, so that's that. And then after romancing the woman, the 6th stage. Okay, what do you mean by getting comfortable? This is the stage in which the couple stop feeling that they have to be on their best behavior. So when people start getting comfortable with each other, you're going out, probably the person previously The person cannot use the toilet in front of you. The person cannot fart in front of you. The getting comfortable is the phase in which the person feels, I don't need to impress this person. This my girl or my guy is into me enough that I can drop all that impression of the charade or the rest. So that's like the 6th stage, getting comfortable. Now we'll talk about the 7th stage. The 7th stage is committed couplehood, and usually it ranges between 6 months to 1 year. 3 out of every 4 men will tell you that at that particular point in time in which that they are committed couples, they will say that that's the point in which their partner became like the center of their life. Okay, if they have to make decisions, they sit, they talk with the person, they talk with the partner, they explain to the partner, okay, these are the decisions I need to make. You are like seeking the partner's opinion on the decisions you are making. So that's committed couple. It usually ranges between 6 months to 1 year. And 3 out of every 4 men sampled will tell you that their partner is the center of their life within 9 months. Okay. Now, one of the things we have noticed is that for couples who are successful, okay, for couples who are successful in this particular phase of committed couplehood, they tend to be monogamous couples. So they tend to be the couples that are like, they're not dating anybody else. They're just seeing themselves alone. Okay. Okay. And usually at this point, if you want to, one of the easiest ways to assess whether if you are at this stage in which you're like, you are steady with the person, you guys are committed, the person is at that particular point that you probably would have started talking about either children, the number of children you want to have. You've probably have seen marriage as a possibility. At that particular point in time, committed couplehood, okay? One of the easiest ways to assess whether this person is serious about you is to see how the person positions you in relation to his family. Okay, so at that particular stage of committed couplehood, most men would place more emphasis on their girlfriend or the person they are dating over their partner. That means that they will tend to defer, okay, to you put your partner's interests ahead of the family, okay? So if you are at this stage in which, so this is what I would say for the show. If you're dating a guy, and I'm just talking to the women, okay, and it goes both ways. If you're dating a guy and you guys have been like committed couples for like a year, at that particular point in time, the guy should, if family members make a negative comment about you, the guy should be willing to come to your defense. Okay? So if you have a bit of that in which the guy is not willing to come to your defense against family members or against friends when they make a comment or so, then that gives you an idea of what's going on in the person's mind. All right. So you just keep that back, because we had a lady who came on the show who was dating a guy. I won't mention the place the guy was from, but she was dating the guy. And she said that what was the red flag for her was when they were dating, and the guy was, she went to visit, and then the family members were talking down at her, and the guy did not come to her defense. He took the side of the family members against her. And it was at that particular point in time in which she just knew that this person wasn't serious about her. So if you're at that particular stage, if someone is seeing you as, I'm going to get married to this person, the person should put your interest, particularly if you guys have gone steady and if you're at that stage in which you are planning to be together. All right. And then the 8th stage is premarital couplehood. Okay. And at this particular stage, when people are committed, couples that are committed, at that point in which you have like open displays of affection, the person is like willing to hold your hands in public. The person, you become confident, you know. And I will tell you this, 90% of couples, people who eventually get married, they confide in themselves. That means that you probably, at that particular point in time, maybe you're having conversations, you start having conversations. There are conversations about money which come up that there are things you know about the person that friends and family do not know. Okay? So if you are dating someone, one of the easiest ways to assess if this is going to go anywhere is, and one of the easiest ways to assess if it's going to go anywhere is, are you at that point in which this person is free to confide in you? Because a lot of times, if people are not willing to confide, they're not willing to confide in you. The person is not seeking your opinion in decision making. It just means that the person probably is not seeing you long term. This person is not seeing you long term as a part of his life or his or her life long term. And then the final is the proposal stage. Okay, so this is what we know. Okay, this is what we know, that most men, okay, will discuss marriage with women they plan to marry within a year and a half of them dating seriously. So if at the end of 2 years of being with a guy, the guy has not discussed marriage at all, the chances that he's going to discuss it with you largely diminish. Okay, it does not mean, and I think that for this we probably would have to explain a couple of things. Stay here a bit, explain a couple of things about this so that we can go. Why does this matter? This matters because if a guy is not discussing marriage and he's been with you for 2 years, chances are that he has thought about it and he has assessed that at this particular point in time, he is not in that space of mind where he can marry you. Either at that particular point in time, he probably like you, but may think, I cannot handle the responsibilities of keeping a family going. Okay, and so if the guy is in that particular, if you've been dating someone for 2 years rather, and the person, a guy, men in particular, a woman, you've been dating a guy for 2 years, and for the 2 years you've been together, he has never brought up the issue of marriage once, chances are that he's not going to bring it up. Chances are that he will not get married to you. All right, except you guys have a fight over it. Okay, so those are like the 9 stages. All right, why is this important? Why is this conversation important? We've had several people who have come on the show, and when they come on the show, they will say that they are with a guy. The guy wasted 4-5 years of their life. We've had people who came on the physical show in the studio and say, I was with this guy for 4-5 years. He dated me for 4-5 years. He didn't propose. He didn't say anything about the marriage, and then the guy went on to go and date someone else. Chances are is that you did not know the stage you are in. So why this conversation matters is because with this particular conversation, you can easily track where you are in your current relationship. Okay. You can easily track where you are in your current relationship. So that's where we are. That's the conversation for today. If there's anything that you would want to bring into the chat, you can drop in the chat below. Okay. So let's just take a couple of chats. Anthony Uchechukwu says hi to us. Anthony, it's great to have you on the show. Bitcoin Lord says, why is this live always skipping? We're still working out the bugs. All right. Bitcoin Lord, we're still working out the bugs of the live stream. Okay. And I can tell you that subsequent live streams will be better. These are very, very second live stream on YouTube, formal live stream. So hopefully with subsequent live streams, it's going to be better. Chimsy Comfort is saying that that's why it's good to date men of their own class. We've addressed that. Chimsy Comfort also says that marriage requires maturity in mind and emotionally, like you said, Jane. I know that it's good for you to be mature, but at some particular point, whether you're mature or not, at some particular point in time, we run out of time. Okay, so you may have to find a way. We do not the same way in which we prepare people for university. You have to prepare yourself. You prepare people for secondary school, prepare them for primary school. You don't leave it to the person to develop maturity before he gets into primary school. All right. It's the same thing with relationships. Okay. You have to make decisions and you have to track where you are. Okay. And then finally, I think the last comment we have here is okay, so that's the last comment we have here is also from Chimsy Comfort. Most women will not like what you said. Most women have money and still have not found a husband. Okay, so I think we've trashed that. So thank you for joining us on this live stream. It was good having you guys. I would strongly suggest that if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Follow our Darkpore Show on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X at Darkpore Show. We'll put that on the. We will be doing this every Tuesday. So Tuesdays, 5 p.m. West African time is when we have this particular live stream. So please join us. Okay, you join us on Tuesday for the live stream. every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Must Have Content. It was great having you. Baby, thanks for coming on the live stream. Jane, was great having you on the live stream. Comfort, Bitcoin Lord, Anthony Uchechuku, was great having you guys. All right, so what are we talking about next week, Tuesday? So this is what we're talking about next week, Tuesday. For next week, Tuesday, we're talking about speaking of marriage. So that's what we're talking about next week, Tuesday. So next week, Tuesday, we're talking about speaking of marriage. We're talking about what a person will say if you, okay, so, and this is going to the women. If you're at that particular age in which you're dating someone and the person has not brought up marriage plans, or the person is not bringing it up, or you're concerned that where is this stuff going? That's what we're discussing next week. We're talking about how to get the guy to propose to you. Okay? I know some will be like, how can you get a guy to propose to you? We'll discuss that next week. How to get the guy to propose to you, right? So that you don't end up dating a guy and then he breaks off with you and then goes on to marry someone else. So that's what we'll discuss next week. So thank you for being a part of this live stream. I'd like to thank every single person who was a part of it. So it was great having you guys. So I'll see you. So enjoy.
The normal way, actually, that people start relationships in the vast majority of cultures is to be like, it is like semi-arranged marriage, right? Like not the full, you've never met this person before, 13-year-olds, whatever, getting betrothed, like not like that, but the sort of you're introduced by family members, mutual friends, you're known in the community, and then both of your families like consent to the marriage and it works out okay. But the expectation isn't like, the expectation of marriage up until relatively recently was that you would have an economic relationship, and a reproductive relationship, but you weren't best friends. Mm-hmm. And actually, I don't think husbands and wives used to talk to each other as much as they do now. I think people used to have much more homosocial kind of lives. Mm-hmm. You'd hang out with other men, you'd hang out with other women. You wouldn't necessarily hang out a lot with the opposite sex, including your spouse. So this idea that like the going up to a person in the bar is like the normal and natural way of starting relationships, I don't think is historically accurate.
I had a guy, am I supposed to mention his name? Okay, he was sweet to the core. That time, I feel like, in fact, make I just marry him. He had money, everything was all right. Was born with a silver spoon, but with condition, make crayfish bend, and everything flopped after my daddy died. So it was not easy for me going to school. My mom had a petty business, made me do things that I was not meant to do. And in the process, things happened. He came up as a friend. I felt that they were just the same thing. He was sweet, pass mark, yes, checking everything. He wants my progress. Everything was just right. Honestly, I'm still regretting because the wife he got married to, in fact,
You're better than that.
yes, with the relationship we have gone so far,
He opens up to you.
up, talk like we talk like
You said
Yeah,
talk to
like
the guy.
friend.
it's not about it. I regretted because I was the one that messed up.
Yeah.
Yes, I messed
yeah.
up. I just had to like call it off, and I do things that pushed him because I wanted to be free. With this whole thing that happened recently, if I remember that thing, I feel bad, like so pained, because where I should be standing right now
Another
with
person.
him, another person is there,
Oh, yeah.
and
That you
he's
have
not
better
even
than.
giving him that so much support.
Oh.
He now
But
have to
that's
hold on.
fine.
His parents had to now get a wife for him, and he just had to do it because he wanted to please his mom.
There's a presumption that you should get married, and if you don't get married, there's something wrong with you. So if you've got a girlfriend and you've been with her for 5 years, and you say to someone, "We're getting married," they go, "Oh, that's great." You know, they don't go, "Why? You're happy. Why would you get married? Like everything's going fine. Why would you put yourself through that? Why would you run that risk?" If you say to someone, "We've been together 5 years and we've decided we're not going to get married. We're going to move in together, but we're not going to get married." Ooh, what's wrong? You have intimacy issues? What's your problem? Meanwhile, 56% end in divorce. It's literally fits the legal definition of negligence. It's a negligent behavior. The way you define negligence in law school is when what you lose by not doing something, okay, is lower than the risk of harm. It's what's called a BPL analysis. So the burden of not doing a thing is lower than the likelihood, the probability of harm. So BPL, so burden, probability, and loss. Marriage is an inherently negligent activity. It's like owning a lion. Like the likelihood of someone getting hurt seriously by this is very, very high. No one ever says it to you because why? Because, and I would say something. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I still get misty-eyed at weddings. Like I still really, there's something in me that goes like, you know, maybe it'll work out for these two.
You still
like,
believe
it's
in love?
Sweet. I absolutely believe in love. I think love is wonderful. But love and marriage have very little to do with each other. I don't think there's much of a correlation there. And I think that's where we got off track. Like I believe in pair bonds. I don't think I can learn everything I need to know about myself from myself. I think having someone around me who sees my blind spots, and that doesn't have to be a romantic partner. That could be a friend, that could be any number of things. But there is something wonderful about romantic connection. We know that. I mean, the other statistic is 56% of marriages end in divorce, but 84% of people who get divorced are remarried within 5 years of their divorce.
Really?
So think about that. So now you've done it and failed and felt the pain of the loss, and within 5 years, 84% are remarried.
So when you fall in love, and you're with a partner who's in love with you,
Sure.
it's like hard to put the brakes on and say, you know what, that's as far as I'm going to go.
Well, I think whoever discovered water, it wasn't a fish. And I think when we're in a thing, we don't see it. And so, I mean, and this is true
No,
of
but
any
there
of us.
must be some endorphins, something's being released in our brains.
Listen, you want to test that theory. The next time you're out with a couple who've been together for a while, and it like seems like they maybe got in a fight, or they're just like kind of being, impatient with each other at the table. You know, when you go like a group thing. Just say to them,